So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is that you get to cover your current affairs on a daily basis, but you don't have to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. You will get to cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes through this lecture series. Now, just spending 30 minutes watching this lecture would be job half done because you need to spend another 15 minutes revising this lecture as well. Why, you ask? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay, so let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So in total, we'll be covering these 4 topics. Okay, and these 4 topics, number 1 in this list of 4 topics is rise in private Capex. Capex stands for capital expenditure. So for the past 4 years, well, we have surveyed that private investment has risen. Okay, now what exactly is private Capex? What are the trends in private Capex? What is its significance? We'll talk about this. Then India has recently offered USA forward most favored nation status. As you all know that USA and India are trying to negotiate a trade deal, right? Now, within this trade deal, India has offered USA that it will give it forward most favored nation status. Now, there is a thing called most favored nation and there is a thing called forward most favored nation. What is the difference between the two? We'll talk about this. Then recently, Maharashtra government brought back sword of Raguji Bhonsle the first from an auction in London. Okay. Now, Raghuji Bhonsle the first was a pivotal figure in the Maratha Empire. Okay, in 18th century. So, what is this sword? Okay, what are the special features of this sword? And who was Raghuji Bhonsle the first? We'll talk about this because it is related to history. And in the end, we'll talk about Golconda blue diamond that is recently put to auction in London. Golconda blue diamond. And we'll also talk about the history of Golconda in producing big, large diamonds, including Kohinoor. We all know about Kohinoor, right? So Kohinoor was also first mined in Golconda. So we'll talk about the rich history of Golconda in producing big diamonds. Okay. So these are the 4 topics that we will zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with rise in private Capex. Okay. So after an estimated 55.5% year-on-year increase in private capital expenditure to 6.56 lakh crore, in 2024-25, Capex declined, saw a 25.5% decline. So for the past 4 years, Capex has been rising, okay, significantly. But in the last year, it declined significantly. Clear? Now, these were the findings of forward-looking survey on private sector Capex investment intentions released by NSO, National Statistical Office, which is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. This is the first time NSO has conducted such a survey on private sector capital expenditure. Generally, government also incurs capital expenditure, but private sector also incurs capital expenditure. Okay. Now, Capex generally forms part of private investment. Okay. And what do we mean by Capex or private Capex? Well, private companies spending money on increasing long-term value by buying property, investing in factory, machinery, equipment, buying fixed assets. Okay. All these things are part of capital expenditure. So whenever a private company is looking towards expanding its operations, okay, then it will buy new technology, buy new physical assets, buy new buildings, buy new factories, plant machinery, right? All of this is categorized as capital expenditure. Okay. Opposite to capital expenditure is OPEX, operational expenditure. So basically, every company, okay, has 2 types of expenditure: Capex and OPEX. So operational expenditure is expenditure incurred on paying salaries, buying raw material, maintenance of things, right? Electricity bill, water bill, all these things are part of a company's operational expenditure. Capital expenditure is expenditure on fixed assets when a company is looking to expand, right? And if capital expenditure is rising in a country, then that means the economy of that country is expanding. Now, for the past 4 years, India's private capex was rising. That means private sector economic activity was expanding in India. But last year, it dropped significantly. Now, the reasons for that decline is, first of all, companies are apprehensive in spending money. Why? The reason why companies are not expanding because they are basically scared of or fearful of geopolitical tensions. Okay, they don't know whether we are heading for a global recession because there are geopolitical tensions. Plus, there is weak demand for their products, because if there is a weak demand for my product, then why would I add one more factory? Right? That makes no sense. So, weak demand, geopolitical tensions, and companies incur capex by borrowing from banks. Okay, if you have to expand, you will establish a new factory, then you will also borrow some of the expenditure for making that factory. Currently, borrowing costs are very high. Bank loan cost is very high. So, therefore, companies have put off capex. Okay, make sense? So, I hope you understood what capex is, right? So, yeah. So these are funds used by a company to acquire, upgrade, maintain assets such as property, plant, machinery, buildings, technology, equipment. Okay. Capex is often used to facilitate new projects or investments by a company. Capex tends to rise when enterprises pursue growth strategies. Okay. So when an enterprise is growing or pursuing growth strategy, then it expands its capex. When it is looking for maintaining status quo, then it reduces capex. Okay. Now, what have been the findings of this survey conducted by NSO about private capex? Now, NSO says that manufacturing sector had the largest share in capex, followed by information technology, communication, and followed by transportation and storage activities. So, maximum private capex was done by manufacturing companies, then by information and communication companies, and then by transportation and storage companies. Nearly 53.1% of total capex incurred in this year was for purchasing machinery and equipment. Okay, so majority of capex was for purchasing machinery and equipment, followed by constructing plants. Okay, factory plants. Okay, and then followed by making buildings, office spaces, and all that. Clear? So these were the findings with respect to this survey that you need to know about. Okay. Chances are very low that they will ask questions from this section, but chances are very high that they might ask questions from this section. What is capex basically? And this section. Okay. Reasons for decline in capex, plus who releases this survey, forward looking survey. Okay. It is NSO. Now, what are the benefits of capex? So it stimulates GDP growth, boosts jobs. Okay. It enhances the productivity of a company, because if a company is investing in new technology, it will become more efficient, productive process would improve. And if a company is investing in new technology, it would also lead to innovation, right? So these are the benefits of capex. Clear? That would be all. Now let's move on to next news item, that is forward most favored nation status for USA. Okay. Now, India and USA are currently negotiating a trade deal, and India has signaled that it is ready to give forward most favored nation status to USA. India is working hard to finalize a trade deal with US and is offering a rare forward most favored nation clause in order to sweeten the agreement. Now, this forward most favored nation clause, India rarely offers to anyone. Okay, but Indian officials say that by offering this, well, it is giving a security to USA that in future, well, we would give you the best benefits. Okay, basically, India US trade deal is negotiating for tariffs on each other's goods. Okay, now if India provides this FMFN status to USA, then what would happen? Let's suppose India says that on American goods coming from USA would invite 5% tariffs. Okay, and tomorrow India negotiates that goods coming from Switzerland would invite 2% tariff. Then by this forward most favored nation clause, India will automatically extend this 2% benefit to USA also. Basically, if India later gives better tariff terms to any other country, those better tariff terms would apply to USA also. That's what we mean by this FMFN status. Okay. So USA would feel more happy about this trade deal if India is ready to give this FMFN status. Okay. Now, to deeply understand this FMFN status, you need to first understand MFN status. Okay. So what is most favored nation? So most favored nation clause is the foundational principle of WTO. Okay. What does this principle say? This is a foundational WTO principle that ensures that all WTO members nations receive equal treatment in terms of trade access, such as reduced tariff and other trade advantages. Okay. Basically, MFN status ensures that India or any other country won't discriminate against another country. Okay. So, for example, India offers 10% tariff to Switzerland and 5% tariff to UK. Then under MFN principle, India also has to give 5% tariff to Switzerland also. Okay. This basically means that if you are offering better terms to others, then you should also give those better terms to me also. If India has given MFN status to Switzerland, then that means that better terms offered to other countries would apply to Switzerland also. Clear? That's what we mean by MFN. Yes, if MFN status is not given to Switzerland, then India is free to charge whatever tariff it wants to charge to Switzerland. For example, when it comes to China, India has not given MFN status to China, so India can charge any tariff with China. But if India has decided to give MFN status to any country, then if it is giving good terms to any other country, those good terms would apply to that MFN country also. Clear? Now, this MFN clause is the core principle of WTO, and it was basically included in WTO agreement so as to basically promote free trade. Okay. Now, well, India can violate MFN terms. Okay. There are some exceptions to MFN terms. If India tomorrow has free trade agreement with UK, then Switzerland can't say that you have to do that free trade agreement with us also. So free trade agreements, regional trade agreements like European Union, they are not part of MFN. Okay. So countries can discriminate without violating MFN if they are negotiating a FTA or regional trade agreement. Similarly, under WTO, well, developed countries like USA had decided to charge lower tariffs, give favorable terms to developing countries like Bangladesh. Okay. And if USA is giving favorable terms to Bangladesh, then UK cannot complain because USA will say that we are helping developing countries, right? So this is known as generalized system of preferences when developed countries basically favor developing countries. Okay. Now GSP is not a violation of MFN. And a country can violate MFN under national security if India feels that China is destroying India's economy by dumping very cheap goods. Then under national security, India can, well, charge high tariffs. Make sense? So these are the exceptions to MFN. Now the question is that if you have understood MFN, what is the difference between forward MFN and MFN? So standard MFN requires a country to grant the same trade advantages to all WTO members. Okay. So if India is charging 5% from Switzerland, it will have to charge 5% from USA. This is MFN if India has given MFN status to USA. Okay. So USA will be given 5%. But if tomorrow India decides that it will charge 2% from UK. Okay, but that decision is taken by India later after giving this access to USA. Then USA can't say that give us 2%. Okay, whatever is the current situation under MFN, best possible will be given under current situation. If in future India improves the situation, then USA cannot claim. Basically, MFN is a static concept. Okay. Under the current circumstances, whatever is best will be given to you. Okay. If in future India creates better conditions, those better conditions would apply to you automatically. Okay. But under forward MFN, if in future also India creates better conditions for some other country, those better conditions would automatically apply to USA. This is the difference between MFN and forward MFN. Hence, forward MFN is dynamic. It also basically future proofs everything. MFN is static. Okay. Whatever India does in future doesn't matter for MFN. But whatever India does in future matters for forward MFN. I hope you got the difference. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to third news item, which is, well, sword of Raghuji Bhonsle. So Maharashtra government on Tuesday, April 29th, reclaimed the iconic sword of Maratha warrior Raje Raghuji Bhonsle I at an auction in London for 47.15 lakh. As per Maharashtra CM, it is a valuable and historical treasure from our Maratha Empire and will now come to Maharashtra. Now, what is so special about this sword? Okay, so it is basically a European style single-edged blade. So single-edged sword, which is slightly curved, and two fullers. Okay, two hooks. Basically, fullers means bends, grooves or channels that run the length of the sword. Now, on the spine of the sword, it is written in gold in Devanagari script, Shrimant Raghuji Bhonsle Sena Sahib Subha Firang. Okay, this is what is written on this sword in Devanagari script. Shrimant Raghuji Bhonsle Sena Sahib Subha Firang. Now, Sena Sahib Subha is basically a military title. It is one of the highest military title that was given to a Maratha by the Chhatrapati of Maratha Empire. Okay, so basically it is a significant one of the highest military title, and it was given to, well, Raghuji Bhonsle. Now, how did this sword go to London? Okay, how did it end up with the British? The thing is that Maratha Bhonsles fought a battle with the East India Company in 1817 called the Battle of Sitabuldi. Okay, it was fought between, well, Bhonsles of Maharashtra, Nagpur, and East India Company. East India Company was being led by Sir Alexander. Okay, now following the 1817 Battle of Sitabuldi, East India Company won. So East India Company basically looted the entire Bhonsle Palace. And when they looted the entire Bhonsle Palace, well, they took this sword also with themselves. So from 1817 onwards, this became the property of British. Clear? And that is why, well, we had to get this sword from an auction in London. Clear? Now, about Raghuji Bhonsle the first. So Raghuji Bhonsle the first was an important figure in Maratha history who laid the foundation of Bhonsle dynasty in Nagpur. As you know, that Maratha Empire was basically a federation. Okay, there were sub-dynasties within the larger Maratha Empire. Okay, now Bhonsles were in Nagpur. Similarly, Gaikwads were in Baroda, and there were other chieftains of Maratha Empire. Okay, Scindias were in Gwalior. Clear? Now, Raghuji Bhonsle the first was awarded the title of Sena Sahib Suba by Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj. In fact, while awarding this title, maybe this sword was given as a ceremonial gift. Okay, and this was an important military title. Now, Raghuji Bhonsle the first is important. Why? Because he was a key figure in bringing Odisha into Maratha Empire. The thing is, during 18th century, after Aurangzeb, well, Mughal Empire was weakening. It was crumbling. And that is why the Maratha Empire was rising. Now, Raghuji Bhonsle the first of all, well, attacked the Nawab of Bengal, and basically he brought Odisha away from the Nawab of Bengal, okay, and into the Maratha Empire in 1751 treaty with Nawab Ali Vardi Khan. After taking control of Odisha, well, he played a pivotal role in restoring Jagannath Temple of Puri. Okay, during the Mughal rule, this temple was in ruins, but Raghuji Bhonsle restored it. Raghuji Bhonsle the first expanded the Maratha Empire to Odisha, Bihar, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh. So he was a pivotal general. Okay, he led many major campaigns, military campaigns in Bengal from 1745 to 1755. That's all. Okay, and now let's move on to our last news item, which is Golconda blue diamond. So a British auction house is auctioning the 23.24 carat Golconda blue diamond, which is claimed to be among the rarest and most important ever discovered throughout history. But the thing is that Golconda has been famous throughout history, from ancient times, since the times of Alexander. Golconda has been famous for its big, large diamonds. Okay, in fact, some historians believe that Europeans got introduced to diamonds because Alexander, when he went to India and came back to Europe, he brought those diamonds with him. Okay, and then only people discovered, or people of Europe discovered diamonds. In fact, Marco Polo, a 13th century traveler, said in his memoirs that diamonds are only available in India. Back then, people used to believe that diamonds are only available in India. And within India, Golconda was pivotal. In fact, largest diamond Kohinoor, okay, was mined first in Golconda. The pale pink Darya Noor diamond was also mined in Golconda. Golconda has a rich history. Okay, so let's know about this history, okay, because art and culture is part of our syllabus. So until 1600s, India was by far the most important, if not the only source of diamonds for Mediterranean and European regions. Okay, by 1600s, India was the only source of diamonds. In fact, Marco Polo in 1292 said, no country but India produces diamonds. Okay, and most of these diamonds were mined in Golconda. Now, Golconda is in Telangana. Okay, now the significance of Golconda was also basically mentioned by many medieval era foreign travelers like Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. Okay, he was a French traveler to India. Now the thing is, well, Golconda was famous, but the thing is, slowly and gradually after 1600s, when it comes to diamonds, India's significance declined. Okay, after 1600s, well, India stopped being the major source of diamonds to the world. Okay, after 1600s. Clear? Plus, in the current era, well, demand for diamonds overall has declined. Not just demands for diamonds from India. Well, overall demands for diamonds has also declined. So what are the factors responsible for decline in diamond demand? Okay, decline in, well, Indian diamonds. First of all, the status of Indian diamonds declined when diamonds were discovered after 1600s in other areas as well. Discovery of diamonds in Brazil in 18th century eclipsed India's diamond industry. Today, most of raw diamonds come from Africa, Australia and Russia. Clear? Plus now, in current 21st century, why are diamonds losing their popularity? Because people who love jewelry, okay, people who spend in jewelry, well, they prefer gold over diamonds. Why? Because gold can also be looked at from an investment point of view. Okay, you can sell gold later if you are in need of money, but that is not the case with diamonds. Okay, so for long-term investment, gold is a suitable asset. That is why people prefer gold in jewelry also. Plus, many concerned people in the Western countries are actually concerned with the way diamonds are mined. Because most of these diamonds coming from Africa, well, they are coming from those mines which are controlled by criminal terrorist gangs of Africa. They exploit workers, children in these mines. Now, the diamonds that come out of these mines are also called blood diamonds because blood was spilled to mine these diamonds. Therefore, more conscientious people of Western countries are refusing to buy these diamonds because if they are buying these diamonds, that means they are facilitating the exploitation of these children and workers in Africa. Okay, so humanitarian issues. And now artificial diamonds are available, lab grown diamonds are available. So the demand for overall diamonds has declined. Clear? So these are the factors why diamond is losing its sheen. Clear? And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you revise this lecture. Like I said in the beginning, revision is really important if you really want to remember these current affairs till your exams. So please do not forget to revise. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.